Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Kokomo BobKast here on the Kokomo Post Sports. My name is Drew Larison. Thank you for joining us today. And with me on the episode today, we got Hawk, Derek Hawthorne, as well as Sam, who's the GM of the Kokomo BobKats here. So, fellas, interesting weekend. For multiple reasons, probably. We walked away 0-1 on the weekend with a loss down in Kentucky against Owensboro, and we were supposed to have another game also in Kentucky. Had some car troubles, which is just real, you know. So we only ended up playing one game, but that game, it sounds like, will be made up this coming weekend. But, yeah, thanks for joining me on the show. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing great.
Doing great?
Yes, sir.
Doing great. Recovering from that weekend.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Like I said, so Friday night we were down in Owensboro, Kentucky, against the number one Owensboro Thoroughbreds. They are in our division, and they're currently number one. And with the win against us, they actually secured the number one spot for the division, so they'll be the number one seed in the playoffs there. Lost that game 101-93. Tough game. It was close. It was back and forth. We had it real close at halftime and kind of like just lost it in the last 2 to 3 minutes. So Hawk, tell us what happened.
And it was crazy. It was a hard-fought game. I actually shot 20 free throws that game, which was shocking. So, you know, it was a close game all around in the stats area. We talked about it in practice today. So it was just the little things that we harp on, the little details, like 50-50 balls that we could have got, you know, missed assignments, missed free throws, something like that. So
little things add up, huh?
Yes, sir.
Sam, you were there. What was your outlook on the game?
Yeah, kind of the same sort of thing. Little things. There were some missed free throws at the very end too, and just some officiating calls that were didn't go our way, kind of went the other way, 50-50 stuff, and just ended up on the wrong side of a close game.
Yeah. So, Hawk, you were the leading scorer with 23 points. You went 3 for 11, which really shows how many free throws you had in that game. Going 3 for 11, you still had 23 points. Had 2 assists. Ace had 15 points, 4 of 13, 3 boards, 3 assists. Corey Boyd, who's really, he's making a presence for him right off the bat getting here because he's the new guy to the team, had 10 points, 4 for 6 with 3 boards. Chandler had 8 points, 4 of 5 with 2 boards. And then Michael Tillman had 7 points, went 3 for 8 with 3 boards as well. They had quite a few players in double digits as well. Darius Nunn had 19. Marshall Griffith had 18. Samuel Keems had 13. Montel James had 12. Martin Hill had 11. So pretty even scoring. So that game brought our record to 10-11, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Went to 10-11 there, and that's going to make the playoff run a little bit interesting. And I know you've got a paper here with a bunch of notes. But yeah, so then our other game was supposed to be on Saturday against the Enforcers, correct? Kentucky Enforcers. Right. So you guys, you know, you're off that loss. You go to the hotel. You know, you wake up the next day thinking you're going to have another game day. Kind of walk us through what happened.
Well, first off, hats off to Owensboro. They let us practice there. So we got a good practice in. They hit the road, got about 40 miles west of Louisville, and all of a sudden a hose popped off, a coolant hose, and they were stuck on the side of the road. So there were multiple phone calls made trying to figure out what we were going to do, whether rental company or somebody to pick them up or carpool or whatever. What they wound up doing was finding a repair place about 9 minutes away and getting there. And they got
very lucky find. Yeah. Only 9 minutes away.
Yeah, all they had to do was make it 9 minutes, which was pretty nice. However, that put us about 2 hours behind schedule, and of course Cliff builds in extra time and everything. So we were basically going to have to push the game back about 45 minutes to an hour, and Kentucky couldn't do that. They're in a new venue. They didn't want to ruin any relationships. They were supposed to be out of that gym by 10 o'clock, and they just couldn't push it back.
They couldn't make it happen. Yeah. So that's disappointing, you know, because you drove all the way down. And it was supposed to be, I mean, a smart travel weekend, right? Both games in Kentucky was going to work out well. Just didn't turn that. So, I mean, I was following you guys on Instagram and things like that. it got hot on the bus as well, right? Because with that hose that busted, we kind of lost some air conditioning.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
Yeah, it was, well, like you said, we kind of noticed it before, but the hose popped off, and then like, so smoke started coming through the vent. So yeah, we had to pull over the side of the road, and then it was hot outside too, so that didn't make it any better. And then so like the spirits was just kind of down, like what we were going through and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we pulled up to the repair place, we seen that the weather was getting bad. So I don't think coach wanted to play and drive in that weather, so we end up rescheduling the game.
Gotcha. Was coach on the bus?
Yeah.
He was. So how did he handle that?
He was.
He's a man. I mean, he's a man of finer things. He likes nicer things. What was it like for him on a bus with no air conditioning?
It was just a mental state for him. He's always like, if you tell yourself you're not hot, then you're not hot. That's how. So he was dealing with it like everybody
some like
else.
Yoda stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So then we had to come home. And by the way, I guess I didn't mention, I'm getting used to this. We're live right now. So if anybody's watching this live and you have any questions for Hawk or Sam or just the team in general, just leave a chat down below. And I'm watching the live chat right now. So if I see any comments come through, I can ask that question. So we can do that as well. All right. So let's talk about the upcoming weekend then, right? So, this weekend was, obviously not the best, but we got 3 games now.
Yep.
So Friday night, we are driving back to Owensboro to play them. And then Saturday night, we're against the Indiana All-Americans at Indiana All-Americans, which they play Liberty Christian now, right? Where is that?
It's in Anderson.
It's in Anderson.
Yep.
Okay, so we're back in Anderson. And then Sunday, we drive back to Kentucky and actually play the Kentucky Enforcers.
Right. And that game's just if necessary. So if the playoffs scenario makes us play them on Sunday, we will play a game on Sunday.
So there's a chance we won't play them.
Correct.
Okay,
There's
gotcha.
also a scenario where we would not play them.
Gotcha. All right, so Hawk, tell me, this is back-to-back games then. So we didn't play on Saturday, so 2 games in a row, we're playing Owensboro. Where's your head at with that? I know Coach, he always told me, unless you do it, you don't know what like an NBA playoff type of scenario is like, because you're playing the same people back to back, and like you might think you've got them or they think they got you and everything like that. This is similar, playing the same team back to back. What are your thoughts on that? What have we maybe learned from the Friday night loss that we could put towards this game, and what are you thinking?
Well, really, my mindset is I don't want to go home early. I'm sure my teammates don't want to go home early either. So we really just have to lock in. We played them before and beat them, so we know what we have to do. We've learned that, like I said, the little things, the details, we have to keep, we can keep their 2 best players, they can get their points, but everybody else around them, we can't let them get off how they got off. So that's really the main thing, really.
Do you think, since they're secured, they're in the playoffs, of course, as well as they've secured that number 1 spot, do you think there's any chance they might rest some of their players to reduce the risk of injury?
Yeah, there's a chance, but we can't underestimate, anybody. So we have to, prepare going in like they will play their best players, because,
Gotcha.
They probably do want to beat us after what happened last game. So.
Yeah. So then Saturday night, we've got the Indiana All-Americans, which we've had some intense games with them this season. I can see, I thought what Indy Express was last year was going to be like that's our rival. Whoever's on the Bobcats team in the future, that's a Bobcats rival. I'm seeing that with the Indiana All-Americans now. We're close. We're in-state rival. I feel like I'm talking high school ball, but you know what I mean? We're both in Indiana. Tell us what your thoughts on that game, which I know we're going to go through the playoff scenarios here in a second, but if when we win on Friday night, that Saturday night game is hella important. So let's talk about what your thoughts are on that game, considering we're going to win on Friday night.
Well, they're really who we're tied with, really. So that's the game to, win. That's probably the most important game. We can't put anything past Owensboro, but Indiana is probably the most important game. So we have to, really lock in for them. We're trying to make it a home game for us, actually. So we're trying to get fans, whoever's watching. If you can make it out to Anderson, we need you there, please.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about all these scenarios. I'm going to let you break it down. You literally have notes. I have things in my head. But I mean, talk us through what are the scenarios? Because we really are, the title of this live, I made it down to the wire because literally we're down to the wire here when it comes to making this playoff run, trying to make it into the playoffs.
Right.
Break it down for us. What needs to happen? How many different scenarios are there? Fill us all in.
Yeah, so there's 5 or 6 different scenarios. They all come back to the Saturday game. The Saturday game is a must-win for us. Whoever wins the Saturday game is going to own the tiebreaker between the two. So if our record is the same as Indiana's, it goes to that tiebreaker, and right now it's 2-2. So number 1 is Saturday is a must-win. We can then win or get the last playoff spot with a win over Owensboro and an Indiana loss on Sunday. Lebanon plays Indiana on Sunday.
Which Lebanon is playing tough right now.
Right.
They're a tough team right now.
Lebanon just went down and beat Owensboro, and they also beat Kentucky this week.
Handedly this weekend by like 30 points or something like that.
Yeah. So that's kind of the scenarios we're looking at. Also on if it comes down to Sunday, Lebanon at Indiana, we will have to go to Kentucky and make up that Kentucky game. If Indiana loses, we're in anyway. It doesn't matter. However, if Indiana wins, then we need to beat Kentucky to get that one more win.
Gotcha. Did you catch all that? People watching. Yeah, so there are different scenarios. The clearest scenario, just win.
All right.
We win out. That's really all we can focus on. And tell me about this too. You've been in probably playoff and certain situations like this before. Tell me, how much is that in your head when you're like playing a game? Like, is it motivating? Do you get nervous about it because it's so much in your mind? Like, we've got to do this. We've got to do this. Well, if we do this scenario, how hard is it to just play basketball and just try to play your best basketball?
Yeah, it's really motivating to me, actually. Like, we get up at 7 a.m. every morning and practice, so, we don't do this for nothing. We're all basketball players. We're here for a reason, Guys, we really just lock in. Like today we had a practice, and the preparation was great today in practice. So, we just have to continue that during the week, and I think we'll be good.
So a few weeks ago, you actually missed a Bobcat game because you had potentially a pretty cool tryout opportunity, right? Do you want to tell everybody about that and like what that's like, I guess?
Yeah, it was. So I had NBA Summer League and G League workout with the Warriors and 76ers, and it was also live for other coaches too. It was actually a great experience. I was familiar with it because last year I had a couple, G League tryouts too, and so I was able to get great feedback and some good news. So hopefully, after the season, I can share that with you guys.
That's a cliffhanger. And I just realized there's so much pun opportunity with Cliff, the coach, and cliffhanger. If he had to have a podcast, that had to be what it's called. Yeah. Anyway, well, congratulations. I look forward to getting that information out of you when the cameras are not on. So, like we said, all these games are away games, but we're trying to maybe make that Saturday night game feel like a home game. Which Anderson, I don't know how long, it's probably like an hour-ish.
It's a little less than an hour.
A little less than an hour. See, it's nothing. Some of you guys wait in the line at Starbucks for more than an hour. You can get in your car and drive down to Anderson and try to make this a home game because
absolutely,
it's going to be intense. I mean, I've been to a lot of games this year, and some of them have been extremely intense, high anxiety games, but not only if that scenario plays out, not only is that going to be a really important game for us, but it's also one for them, right? So it's really, old school NBA playoffs to me. Like it's going to be intense, I think.
Right.
So speaking of intensity, we don't need to talk about it too much, but after Friday night's game in Owensboro, we talked about last time they were in Kokomo, there was some chirping going on, specifically with Vaughn on their team, who used to be a Bobcat. Any thoughts on what that maybe will be like? Because there was some chirping, some pushing, some shoving potentially after Friday night's game. And like I said, we're going right back at them this Friday night.
Well, we I don't know if you guys seen, but we actually had them arguing with each other as well. Like their own teammates were going at it with
Head
each
games,
other.
eh?
Yeah. So we know during the game we'll probably say something slick to where the ref can't see us and try to get in their heads, and then they'll try to do something on their own and just take them out their game. So. I think the next game, that we play, it won't go like last game, but it'll be intense too, though.
Yeah, I mean, we're down to the wire. So, it's almost like, we've been saying every game matters, but every possession matters, And Owensboro is a team that can play, they can shoot, they can score. So, I always look at it, and I look at, honestly, the Indiana All-Americans are the exact same type of team. They can put up numbers to where we have to take advantage of their missed opportunities. If they're missing or they get a turnover or get an offensive foul, we've got to score that next possession. Right. We have to take advantage because those moments don't happen much, but when they do, we got to take advantage of that. So it should be a good weekend of Bobcats basketball. Make sure to follow the Kokomo BobKats on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, because all the updates from the games are, posted, the score updates for every quarter that happen. It should be good, and we're coming down to the wire, and everything matters deeply because we want to make that playoffs, and I think we can be a dangerous team in those playoffs, when we get there. So also you can watch all the games on tbl.tv, I think is what the URL is there. Yep. So just go to KokomoBobKats.com, click the menu, and you can find TBL TV. Yep. Owensboro actually does a really good job on their live stream with the commentating and things like that. I can't say the same for Indiana All-Americans. So if you want to see that Indiana All-Americans game, make sure you actually drive down to Anderson and watch that game on Saturday night. For many reasons, not just because their live stream isn't great, but because we need you there. We want that to feel like a home game. There's rumors that somebody locally is going to buy a bunch of free tickets for Bobcats fans. So I don't know if that's going to be coming true or anything, but you might not have to pay to get into the game. So thanks for watching this episode of the Kokomo BobKast. Important weekend coming up. Make sure to follow us and follow the Kokomo BobKats. Make sure you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.